Good evening and welcome to Undaunted, bringing into the news untold stories. I am Star Smart. Let's begin.
Our vision, this interim government, is to make ABC a leader and a real warhorse of our struggle. We want to grow it, expand it, hire and train more hands, and broadcast round the clock, around the world, and take command of the media space of this world.
You can enjoy all round the clock 24/7 exclusive moments of bliss as an ABC Amba TV Club member. A cappella. Latest Nigerian stroke African movies, global politics, ABC Amba News and updates, historical documentaries, and lots more. In our daily programs, we have Undaunted, ABC Amba News, bringing into the news untold stories with Onyi Okpala and Star Smart. Exclusive discussion, revolutionary panel conversation, infotainment, edutainment, intro governmental debates on topical issues with Tar Paddy King, State of the Liberation Movement, Fronting IG and People of Ambazonia's position, the Struggles Weekly Update with Secretary Martin Mungwa, PhD, FASC, Health is Wealth, Health Education and Awareness within the Ambazonian community with Dr. Yaya, Liberation Prayer, an intercessory ministry for Ambazonia with Pastor Victor Amba, Our Freedom, Spiritual Awareness and Education for the Ambazonian community with Pastor Victor Amba and Pastor Commando, Church and Politics, neutralizing the myths and preconceived and political philosophies that limit the Christian involvement in the realms of decent politics with Pastor Commando, The Horizon, the voice of the Ambazonian woman with Dr. Patience Abiedo and Lady Casey, Our Amber History, bringing to limelight the hidden history of Ambazonia to the world with Pastor Commando, Appointment on Community Building, Education on Patriotism within the Ambazonian communities with Ma Rachel Itatima, Ethics for an Emerging Nation, Watchdog of Basic Principles and Morals of a Nation at War with Ma Dorothy Ngwa. Upcoming programs: Pigeon News, Vernacular Talk Show, County Roots, Activists Corner, Amba Focus. Only on ABC Amba Television. We the people, the voice of the voiceless. For 24/7 access, subscribe as a club member on www.abcambatv.com/subscribe.
While the lockdown instituted by the interim government led by President Sacco is gaining a lot of momentum across the homeland, with reports from various quarters of the homeland showing strict adherence to the lockdown. There has been a heavy La Republic military deployment to Baba One, a village in Santa local government area, to secure the burial of the late chairman of the SDF party, and the burial that took place a long while ago on Perturb. We still have the colonial La Republic occupational military who are deciding not to go back. They're still in their numbers in Baba 1 and 2. The population is crying and expressing their wish that these La Republic terrorist thugs be removed from their village. Reports from the village say this colonial La Republic forces are making lives difficult for the villagers. What are they still doing in Baba 1 and 2 is the question. Which they came to defend had long passed. Well, it's yet to be clear. We have the full briefings of Undaunted coming up after the prime headlines. Stay tuned.
Here are the prime headlines for tonight. We will see how the lockdown has been enforced across Ambazonia. 2 head teachers killed ahead of the 2023-2024 school resumption. La Republic de Cameroon forces in trouble replicating what the 2 journalist Wazizi. Of course, the La Republic de Cameroon military entered Baba 2, and they've been making life difficult for the locals. Ayabacho seems to be in the news tonight. What has he done? You will definitely find out. And of course, in Africa, the interest of the West in Africa, what does the West stand to lose with the coup uprising? Another global scene, Trump is in a league of his own. What has he done again? Now let's get the news in detail.
Our vision in this interim government is to make ABC a leader and a real warhorse of our struggle. We want to grow it, expand it, hire and train more hands, and broadcast round the clock, around the world, and take command of the media space of this world.
You can enjoy all round the clock, 24/7 exclusive moments of bliss as an ABC Amba TV Club member. A cappella. Latest Nigerian stroke African movies, global politics, ABC Amba News and updates, historical documentaries, and lots more. In our daily programs, we have Undaunted, ABC Amba News, bringing into the news untold stories with Onyi Okpala and Star Smart. Exclusive discussion, revolutionary panel conversation, infotainment, edutainment, inter-intro-governmental on topical issues with Tar Paddy King, State of the Liberation Movement, Fronting IG, and People of Ambazonia's position. The Struggles Weekly Update with Secretary Martin Mungwa, PhD, FASCE. Health is wealth, health education, and awareness within the Ambazonian community with Dr. Yaya. Liberation Prayer, an intercessory ministry for Ambazonia with Pastor Victor Ba. Our Freedom, spiritual awareness and education for the Ambazonian community with Pastor Victor Amba and Pastor Commando. Church and Politics, neutralizing the myths and preconceived religious and political philosophies that limit the Christian involvement in the realms of decent politics with Pastor Commando. The Horizon, the voice of the Ambazonian woman with Dr. Patience Abiedo and Lady Casey. Our Amber History, bringing to limelight the hidden history of Ambazonia to the world with Pastor Commando. Appointment on community building, education on patriotism within the Ambazonian communities with Ma Rachel Itatima. Ethics for an Emerging Nation, watchdog of basic principles and morals of a nation at war with Ma Dorothy Ngwa. Upcoming programs: Pigeon News, Vernacular Talk Show, County Roots, Activists Corner, Amba Focus, only on ABC Amba Television. We the people, the voice of the voiceless. For 24/7 access, subscribe as a club member on www.abcambatv.com/subscribe.
To remain in conformity with the rule of law from the pressure mounted by lawyers against some La Republic du Cameroun security agents, the La Republic du Cameroun government has arrested some of its security officers for torturing an inmate to death. Nemesis has caught up with some elements of the colonial La Republic du Cameroun security forces. They thought it was business as usual, but they are now but a scapegoat. Officials of the La Republic du Cameroun and 2D Gendarmerie Brigade in Yaoundé in the colonial center region of La Republic du Cameroun have arrested some of their colleagues for torturing an inmate to death. Now on this sad note, let's begin Undaunted tonight. How are you doing, Steph?
Oh, very well, Oni. Good evening, Ambazonians. A non-governmental organization, an NGO known as Mandela Center International Foundation, issued a joint statement with another, New Human Rights, confirming the incident. The Nelson Mandela Foundation has since its creation been fighting against rights violations and arbitrary arrests in the country. Its members say the challenges of Ndongo Bilogo, the victim, started after he was arrested, tortured, and held in custody at the Colonial Etudi Territorial Gendarmerie Brigade on June 1st, 2023.
He was arrested after handing a package to a lady in a hotel in Etudi, Yaoundé, the political capital of La Republic du Cameroun. The package came from his friend, though it is still unclear what its content was. It is obvious his arrest, detention, and murder are not unconnected to the package he connected or picked. The investigations led by Colonial Nana of the Colonial Gendarmerie Operational Command, the COG post of the State Secretariat in Defense, said led to the arrest of the perpetrators, the NGO noted. Bilongo was released without any bail on the 5th of June 2023, but it seems it was already too late.
Well, he died on July 19th, 2023, in the emergency room of the Yaoundé General Hospital. He had numerous hematomas on the body, particularly very visible on the face, and he was immediately admitted to the emergency room of the Yaoundé General Hospital. Medical diagnosis revealed a severe temporal intraparenchymal hematoma. That is a joint statement by the NGOs. This is what they revealed. Hematoma describes an area of blood that collects outside of the larger blood vessels. Hematomas are commonly due to injuries or trauma in the area. An injury could cause blood vessels walls to break, allowing blood to make its way into the surrounding tissue.
Well, the NGOs have announced an ongoing investigation. The case of B logos isn't different from that of Samuel Wazizi, who was murdered in detention a few days after he was arrested and tortured by security forces. There has also been cases of inmates who died in detention because they were denied access to health care.
Moving on, there was a heavy La Republique military deployment to Babawan, a village in Santa local government area, to secure the burial of the late chairman of the SDF party. The burial took place, and yet the colonial La Republique military never went back. They are still in their numbers in Babawan. The population is crying, expressing the wish for these dogs to be taken out of their village. Reports from the village say these colonial La Republique forces are making lives very difficult for the villagers. Now, what are they still doing? There is what we've been asking even since yesterday. Given that the burial is over, the burial which they came for in the first place is long past, what are they still doing in Babawan and also Babatu?
The people of Babawan decries the pain they are going through in the hands of the Colonial La Republique de Cameroon military officers. The Colonial La Republique de Cameroon military officers deployed to Babawan to protect the corpse of the late SDF chairman Ni John Frundi are still in Babawan. There is a resident of Babawan who, through a voice note, has explained the atrocious acts that these thugs of La Republique de Cameroon are subjecting the villagers to. According to the report, the colonial La Republique de Cameroon government forces are harvesting maize from people's farms, and they are doing that indiscriminately. They are also pesting people to feed them, that they are hungry.
Now, he also recounts a situation where a young man was carried on their hideout, which is late Frundi's compound, and beaten mercilessly. The reason was that he came home to see his wife cooking for the Colonial La Republique military at their command. He was abrogated and tortured. There are also reports of gunning down domestic animals and eating with no explanation whatsoever to the owners. All the villagers wish is for these colonial forces to leave the Baba One village so locals can have calmness, as their presence there is only causing terror.
All right, moving on. Two hurt teachers killed ahead of the 2023 school resumption. Now, these two, plus the young Form 3 girl, killed by a stray bullet in Kumba local government area, and even the road mishap on Tugodwala Road this fateful day and yesterday. Well, this alone tells everyone who still doubts the Ambazonia quest for freedom that total separation from La Republique de Cameroon is what they want. Undaunted ABC Amber TV News has gathered that two head teachers from the Mbesa Fundum in Boyo County have been killed by yet to be identified armed men.
Well, the head teacher of La Republique run government school, Swalam, Mr. Fonjang Eric Dienis, and the head teacher of another La Republique run government school, Balavin, Mr. Ndin John Buji, were reportedly killed around the Injim mountain forest on 2nd September 2023. We gathered further that they were where they participated in a colonial La Republique type subdivisional basic education sector conference in preparation for school resumptions for the 2023-2024 school year.
The lockdown instituted by the interim government led by President Samuel Likamasako is gaining so much momentum across the homeland. Reports from various quarters of the Homeland show strict adherence to the lockdown. We have images from Kumba and Donga Manchun County. Now let's see that.
Today na 5th September 2023 when na Tuesday na ARF Tonga Mantung na Fondu Eje, oh please be dry.
Well, this is breaking news from Alu local government area, Libialem County, that the brave Ambazonian brave restoration forces from Alu local government area, Libialem County, blew up a La Republic to Cameroon armored vehicle with all occupants said the ambush was very lethal against the occupier. Here is a video of the blow up.
Okay, bon, today, today Tuesday, the 5th of September 2023, where Major General Massacre, the commander of Team Retinant for our LGA inside the BLM country, the mothers come, watch and see, sleep, not be die. Now in that, okay, all man for day, it don't finish. La Republic, una ceasefire. No way for una. When we don't declare ghost town, many man obey the order. Now our land be this. Now our land be this. Watch and see. Minimum focus, minimum stay tuned. You know, move for that place. AVC. La Republic, una ceasefire. Na team retinant for our LGA inside the BLM country. We dey outside today, the 5th of September 2023. The day for that place. Na news.
Nigeria one of this Major General Massacre a Pekin live.
We dey bush all the generals. We dey out. And that the day for road confusion. Na Pawan that gun CD. We go shoot.
All right, with those there, you can see that firepower is now very active in LBLM. Now, the county chair of LBLM is calling on all La Republic to Cameroon terrorist soldiers still alive in southern Cameroon's territory, that's in Ambazonian's territory, to drop their weapons at the nearest Ambazonian military barrack and leave, or else they will all perish in the hands of the ARFs. The county chair thanks the brave restoration for a work well done. Now, this is an advice for all county heads. He says, all county heads should learn to fund their counties, fund your local government, and of course, where accountability and transparency are visible and where power belongs to the people, the impact will definitely be seen.
Okay, bon,
moving
today,
ahead.
the 5th, today Tuesday, the 5th of September 2023, where Major General Massacre, the commander of Team Retinant for our LGA inside the BLM country. The mothers come, watch and see, sleep, not be die. Now in that. Okay. All man for day, it don't finish. La Republic, una ceasefire. No way for una. When we don't declare ghost town, many man obey the order. Now our land be this. Now our land be this. Watch and see. Minimum focus, minimum stay tuned. You know, move for that place.
Hello? Hello? Mon pied. Les gens du dos là, ne bougez pas, ne bougez pas. Allô? Allô? Suzo. Allô? Suzo. Allô? Pardon. Je vous demande, allô? Pardon. C'est mon dos. Allô? Mon dos. Je viens. Hein? Je viens, pardon. Je viens. Venez, on cherche à faire tirer la femme là. Mon pied. Les gens du dos là, ne bougez pas, ne bougez pas. Allô? Allô? Suzo. Allô? Suzo. Allô? Pardon. Je vous demande, allô? Pardon. C'est mon dos. Allô? Mon dos. Je viens. Hein? Je viens, pardon. Je viens. Venez.
All right, moving on. Well, that's what's happening in Libya as of today. Let's see what the ARFs will do tomorrow. We are here to bring you the reports as it unfolds.
Well, speaking of the Ayabacho and his kidnapping scheme, well, Ayabacho has kidnapped five. The five, consisting of 2 women and 3 men, were picked up late in the evening of Saturday 2nd and early morning of Sunday, September 3rd, respectively, by hoodlums loyal to Ayabacho who were specialized in ransom taking. It is worthy to note, with a heavy heart, that Ambazonians on home front are being forced at gunpoint by Ayabacho's gang of kidnappers and headquarters and La Republic contractors against the Ambazonian People's Liberation Struggle to pay a certain concocted Ambazonian Liberation Tax, which we brought to you yesterday, that was stipulated 70,000 in US dollars, intended to cause anger in Ambazonia so they will turn away from the struggle for their freedom from over 62 years of colonial enslavement under La République du Cameroon.
The reason victims of Ayabacho's evil dragnet in government era includes Aqua Timothy, notable and primary school teacher Kum Ernest, Ba owner Kum Unko, Ba manager Mungay Caroline, and Mungay Christabel, both teachers from the same family. A former official of the colonial La Republic of Cameroon Army, whose name we got as Lang, was served bullet wounds after putting up a strong resistance to the gang of Cho's so-called fighters who stormed his residence to kidnap him. Well, according to local sources, this is the second time the former military personnel is victim of a shooting attack by armed men believed to be Ambazonian Restoration Forces, who are fighting for liberation of the southern Cameroon, as well Ambazonians from their years of enslavement.
Well, reports say, on the other hand, the colonial La Republic occupier military equally arrested one Fu Hyginus, a businessman in whom they put under custody. Locals add that the colonial La Republic occupier military equally destroyed solar street lights in different neighborhoods of the village. Meantime, according to information, no crime, quote, has been brought against the captives. But sources closer to families of some of the victims have confirmed that the Ayabacho boys are asking for money. On the African scene, while in West Africa, Nigeria are anticipating the Supreme Court's verdict for tomorrow. A lot is still happening with the coup-hit nations. 23 Nigerian coup d'etat happened on July 26, 2023, where the Presidential Guard of the Republic of the Niger detained President Mohamed Bazoum. Shortly after declaring the coup a success, Presidential Guard Commander General Abdurrahman Chiani assumed control of the new military junta. We thought the Nigerian coup d'etat was the most recent in Africa until last week, when Gabon's coup d'etat came along less than 2 months after.
All right, let's look at Gabon's update. With all of the coup d'etats in Africa, we would like to get this food for thought from Honorable Mama Kande, which we could have bring to you yesterday.
Of recent, I have seen the ECOWAS introducing the anti-coup d'etat unit. We are not in support of coup d'etat, but I have a concern. Before setting up a unit or anti-coup d'etat unit, isn't it time that the African head of states or the ECOWAS head of states look into the reason why there are coup d'etats? What are the root causes of coup d'etats? Let them put their house in order first before they set up an anti-coup d'etat unit. Let them put their house in order. And I believe their house is not in order. This unit is set up to defend them and to protect them only, nobody else. What is more coup d'etat than your national constitution gives you 2-term limit, 5 years, 2 terms. After serving 10 years, you want to change the constitution for another term. Is that not a coup d'etat? Because you feel you have the powers to do that. The soldiers have the powers to coup d'etat. That is also another coup d'etat. And they are living with them there. They are there. In the name of civilian, putting on mufti clothes, calling yourself a Democrat, when you loot all the resources of your country, mislead people, torture them, imprison them, burn their businesses to us, and you call that a democracy? Or a civilian and illegally elected government? The leaders must stop lying to their electorate first. They must stop the corruption. They must stop looting our resources. They must understand that they are not a better citizen than anybody. They are given a responsibility, a role to play to help develop the countries and make sure that there is peace and tranquility and respect the concept of the country. So before you create a unit to go against any attempt of coup d'etat, put your house in order. Stop lying to your electorate. Stop lying to your citizens. Stop looting the resources of your country. Stop corruption in your country.
Are there any wiser words? Well, the fact that these coups are now like in a chain and in sequels has put the world in a frenzy, especially the West.
Events in Gabon have proven the end of Ali Bongo's 14-year rule and caused quite some reaction amongst and from the Libreville's partners. On Wednesday, we heard the French Prime Minister Elisabeth Borne, while speaking to French ambassadors gathered in Paris Wednesday, August 29, say this.
Over the course of this year, you have been present as usual, and the action of the French diplomatic network has been marked by the response to several major crises, including the war in Ukraine and the coup in Niger. Now, there is this situation in Gabon that we are closely watching.
You have the video of French Prime Minister Elisabeth Borne, courtesy of Africa News. Along the line of speakers concerning the coup in Gabon, we had the EU's top diplomat Joseph Borrell speak last week to reporters. That's on Wednesday morning. Let's hear him.
The news are confused. I got the news this morning early. If this is confirmed, it's another military coup, increase instability in the whole region. I cannot say more because I don't have more information, but it's an issue that will be put on the table when we will discuss a whole area, starting with Central African Republic, then Mali, then Burkina Faso, now Niger, maybe Gabon. It's in a very difficult situation, and certainly the ministers, today defense ministers and tomorrow foreign affairs ministers, have to have a deep thought on what is going on there and how we can improve our policy with respect to these countries. This is a big issue for Europe.
While these other meetings by the West goes on, let's take a look at the reaction of the Gabon people courtesy of France 24. To the latest on Gabon yesterday, we gave you that explanation, and that's the video there, which has the leader of the coup that ousted Gabon's former president, Ali Bongo, sworn in as interim president and chaired by Jubilean supporters yesterday in a televised ceremony designed to cast the military as liberators of an oppressed society.
Well, the question is, why is there always a celebration by the people after these coup d'etat? If coup d'etats are indeed a bad thing, according to the West. Well, it's rather ironic, I must say.
Well, what is even more intriguing is the report of President Bola Tinubu-led government of the Federal Republic of Nigeria in the early hours of today, saying the new government formed by the military junta in Gabon is unacceptable while demanding a return to democratic order.
Well, if it's really democracy the West and its proxies claim to be fighting for, I believe the definition of that would be a government by the people in which the supreme power is vested in the people and exercised directly by them or by their elected agents under a free electoral system. In the phrase of Abraham Lincoln, democracy is a government of the people, by the people, and for the people. So it is rather perplexing to hear the West insist on a certain point that the people of these nations do not appreciate and still call it democracy, a fight for democracy. Democracy lately seems to be who the West wants as president and not who the people of these African countries want.
What is also interesting is seeing the West ignore the actual plight of Africa and even calls for intervention when presidents stay for over 4 decades on seats against their wish, but then are quick to intervene when the military of these countries decide to make a stand for the people of the nation. Worthy to note that ahead of the controversial general elections elected the military coup d'etat in Gabon, IPI had also called on the government of now disposed President Ali Bongo to respect press freedom amid elections. Because before the elections, the authorities had refused accreditation to foreign media outlets to enter the country and cover the elections. This includes a Cameroonian journalist, Sanclair Mazin of Cameroon Tribune, who was prevented from entering the country to cover the election. The authorities also imposed an internet shutdown after voting ended on August 26th. The military temporarily suspended 3 France-based media, Radio France International, France 20 TV5 Mondale, from broadcasting in the country, even if both the suspension of the media outlets and the internet shutdown were lifted the following day. The point has already been made clear.
Well, over the weekend, we read to you the 11 agreements every so-called independent French colony had to sign, which revealed that the independence of these French colonies were never fully given till date. How many people in the world actually know that the France CFA used in most, at least 14 West African and Central African countries, which of course includes the Cameroons, was created in 1945, way before African independence?
What's more sad about it is not the ties of colonial currencies used in supposed independent countries, but the fact that the West African countries have to deposit 50% of their reserves in the French treasury to, in return, use the France CFA, which value is tied to the euro.
And the excuse for the France CFA still being in use in these African countries is the excuse of the French currency bringing stability in these supposed sovereign African nations. Need I repeat that the independence of these French colonies were never fully given, because it is obvious now more than ever why Africa is waking up to claim their complete and absolute independence.
And news across the globe. Let's start with the world war, the Russian and Ukraine war. A Russian helicopter pilot who defected to Ukraine last month has revealed details of the daring operation to fly across the border in his Mi-8 combat helicopter. In an interview published by Ukraine's Defense Intelligence, the pilot, named by Ukrainian officials as Maxim Kuzminov, explained in the interview how he planned his defection and why he felt compelled to do so.
Now, on Natural Discovery, scientists managed to discover a missing continent after a whooping 375 years. Once part of an ancient supercontinent, it was nicknamed the Great Southern Continent. Originally including Western Antarctica and Eastern Australia, it has been theorized about since Roman times and was even partially discovered in the 1600s. However, it would take nearly 4 long centuries for geologists to finally come to agreement on the new continent. So, let's take things back to the initial discovery in 1642, when Dutch businessman and sailor Abel Tasman set out to find the elusive 8th continent, also known as Terra Australis in Latin.
World economy. Russia will give 6 African countries free grain, says Putin. President Vladimir Putin on Monday said Russia was nearing a deal that would secure free grain to 6 African countries after the UN-brokered Black Sea grain deal collapsed in July. Since pulling out of the deal, which are made to ensure safe grain exports via the Black Sea, Russia has been keen to ally African concerns about the impact of the deal's collapse on food security. We are close to completing agreements with 6 African states, Putin said at a press conference with Turkish counterpart Recep Tayyip.
Well, on the main report, we're looking at Trump in a league of his own as GOP primary hits full sprint. Well, there are 2 Republican primaries as an election season that defies conventional metrics and campaign trail traditions crashes into its full stretch. There is the one-man race involving Donald Trump, the former president, polling higher than all his rivals put together. But whose onrushing train of criminal trials increases the possibility that the GOP could nominate a convicted fellow.
Well, below is the contest in which one candidate in the teens, Florida Gov, DeSantis, and everyone else in the single digits aren't piling on the front runner, but instead the political neophyte Vivek Ramaswamy, who has gotten under their skins and is making a mockery of their campaigns. Unless someone in the brawl for a distant second place can climb into the top tier sometime in the next 4 months and consolidate opposition to Trump, a feat must have never been dared to attempt, the ex-president may enjoy a GOP coronation. This is despite the fact that in what could, according to current signs, be a tight rematch between Trump and President Joe Biden, the ex-president faces significant vulnerabilities among swing voters in the crucial handful of states likely to decide the general elections.
Oh, well, the status in the Republican nominating contest at the traditional post-Labor Day acceleration point will have profound national implications. Trump has already convinced millions of his supporters that he is the current legitimate president after his claim of fraud in the 2020 election. An ex-commander-in-chief who lionizes autocrats in promising a presidency of retribution and a quest to strip away many of the constraints on a president's power. But first, Trump's bid to overturn his 2020 election loss could face accountability in criminal trials in Washington, D.C. and Georgia that could ultimately cost him his freedom, but that could also cause him to fight for a White House return as a convicted criminal.
Trump is also set to face another 2 trials next year over his alleged mishandling of classified documents that we brought you exclusive reports on here on Undaunted, and arising from a hush money payment to an adult film star. These allegations we handled here on Undaunted. This week alone, legal dramas will swirl around a slate of Trump's associates and co-defendants, and while unlikely to change the trajectory of the election or Trump's own legal fate, those developments will deepen the extraordinary legal stench surrounding his camp. Former Trump trade official Petro Navarro goes on trial on Tuesday in Washington, charged with contempt of Congress after refusing to cooperate with subpoenas from the since disbanded House Select Committee that investigated on the 6th of January 2021.
And several officials who allegedly aided a conspiracy to overthrow the 2020 elections are due to be arraigned in Fulton County, Georgia on Wednesday. Trump last week waived his right to appear in person, but the campaign is still reverberating from the GOP frontrunner having his mugshot taken at the Fulton County Jail last month, which he has turned into a rallying issue for supporters who consider him a hero. Also on Wednesday, in an unrelated matter, Trump has been called for a deposition in a lawsuit he is against his former attorney, Michael Cohen.
These legal dates only further the growing impression that the most important events in the 2024 elections are likely to unfold in courtrooms and jury boxes rather than a state affairs in lower halls in New Hemisphere, where Trump's GOP rivals are seeking to break out from the pack as his main challenger, even if they are unwilling to attack him directly. This unprecedented clash between the electoral and legal systems may not be the full extent of the political maelstrom that rages as November 2024 approaches. Now let's get to sports.
Latest world sports. Jordan Henderson really hurt by criticism of Saudi Arabia transfer. England midfielder Jordan Henderson says he was really hurt after being criticized for joining Al Ettifaq. Henderson joined the Saudi club from Liverpool in July, has been a vocal ally of the LGBTQ+ community. His move has been criticized by some LGBTQ+ campaigners as same-sex sexual activity is illegal in Saudi Arabia. My intention was never, ever to hurt anyone. My intention has always been to help causes and communities, Henderson told The Athletic. There can be a lot of criticism, a lot of negativity around me as a person, and that was difficult to take. I do care about different causes that I've been involved in and different communities. I do care. And for people to criticize and say that I had turned my back on them really hurt me. All I can say is that I apologize. I'm sorry that I've made them feel that way, but I haven't changed as a person. The 33-year-old wrote a long piece for the Liverpool Matchday program in November 2021, expressing support for Stonewall's Rainbow Laces campaign. With his Saudi switch, Henderson has reunited with former Liverpool teammate Steven Gerrard, who was appointed manager of Al Ettifaq in July. Henderson said, "I've gone above and beyond to help the LGBTQ+ community. I've worn the laces, I've worn the armband, I've spoken to people in that community to try to use my profile to help them. That's all I've ever tried to do. When I hear stuff like, 'You've turned your back on us,' that hurts me. I do care. I have family and friends in the LGBTQ+ community." Henderson said he will not rule out wearing rainbow laces in Saudi Arabia, insisting the gesture aligns with his values, but does not want to be disrespectful. When his switch to Al Ettifaq was announced, the club released a welcome video on social media with a montage of Henderson's career, but it appeared that his rainbow armband had been grayed out. "I didn't know anything about it until it was out." Henderson said, "It's hard for me to know and understand everything because it is part of the religion. So if I wear the rainbow armband, if that disrespects their religion, then that's not right either. Everybody should be respectful of religion and culture." Talking about what persuaded him to head to Saudi Arabia, Henderson said he was attracted by the prospect of trying to grow the game he loves in another country, and said nothing will change by criticizing another country from afar while burying our heads in the sand. Henderson added, "I think people know what my views and values were before I left and still do now. And I think having someone with those views and values in Saudi Arabia is only a positive thing." Tennis. US Open 2023 results. Alexander Zverev beat Jannik Sinner, Carlos Alcaraz, and Daniil Medvedev through. Germany's Alexander Zverev came through the longest match of this year's US Open to beat 6th seed Jannik Sinner and reach the quarterfinals. Zverev seeded 12th, clinched a 6-4, 3-6, 6-2, 4-6, 6-4 win at 139 in New York and placed top seed Carlos Alcaraz next. The 2020 runner-up missed last year's head-court Grand Slam event because of a serious ankle injury. "This is one of the best moments of my career after the injury and the comeback," said Zverev. Earlier, third seed Daniil Medvedev beat Australia's Alex de Minaur to set up a quarterfinal with fellow Russian Andrei Rublev. 8th seed Rublev knocked out Briton Jack Draper earlier on Monday before his close friend Medvedev fought back to win 2-6, 6-4, 6-1, 6-2 against 13th seed de Minaur. Zverev, 26, became the final man to book his place in the last 8, coming through a gripping contest against Italy's Sinner, which lasted 4 hours and 41 minutes. "I guess I can say I'm back. This is what I live for," said Zverev. "I would have loved to play a little bit shorter, but last year, when I wasn't able to play, this is what I missed." Earlier on a humid night in New York, 2021 champions came through in what he called brutal conditions. "Some people are better with the heat, some people worse. I feel like I'm not the best one in this case," said Medvedev. "At the same time, I feel like I fight many times through it quite well, so that's kind of what happened. I managed to raise my level. It was an amazing last 3 sets, so I'm really happy. I hope I can play the same way going further." Basketball. Basketball World Cup. Serbia's Borisa Simanic has kidney removed. Serbia's Borisa Simanic has had surgery to remove a kidney after suffering an injury at the Basketball World Cup. Simanic was hit in the stomach by South Sudan's Noni Omot as Serbia won 115 in the Philippines on 30th August. He had surgery on the day of the incident, but due to complications, a second operation took place on Sunday. Team Dr. Dragan Radovanovic, we expect that after this operation, the post-operative course will go smoothly. The 25-year-old power forward, who plays for Zaragoza, is being monitored at a hospital in Manila. Officials saw no foul play when the incident took place at Smart Araneta Coliseum in Quezon City. Ahmad has issued an apology. As a sportsman, I firsthand understand the severity of his situation, and I am deeply sorry that this happened. Ahmad said, no player should have to go through that. The 19th edition of the World Cup is being co-hosted by the Philippines, Japan, and Indonesia. Gab Ellison reporting from Undaunted, ABC Amba News.
All right, thank you so much, Gab Ellison, for that report. And with that sports report, we've come to the end of Undaunted tonight. But before we go, let's take a look at the major stories.
On Undaunted tonight, we brought to you Kumba local government area. There's a sad news of a child was killed early today. We brought to you Ambazonians remaining committed to ghost towns even with school resumptions in La Republic today.
All right, tonight on Undaunted, we looked at firepower returning to the BLM and also 2 head teachers killed in Kumba local government area. Also tonight on Undaunted, we brought you the latest in the coup d'etats happening across Africa and what Trump will have to deal with ahead of 2024 elections. And that was it for tonight's Undaunted, bringing into the news untold stories. On behalf of Michael and Costa Smart and the entire Undaunted crew, we say thank you for tuning in.
We'll leave you with ABC Amba TV images. Good night and God bless you.